All right, I have that it's 11 a.m. Welcome, everybody. Um, we'll go ahead and get started. I've run through some of the webinar etiquette and information, tech checks type stuff a little bit ahead of time. As people were getting on, I'll run through it again really quick. Welcome to our TNT mini series and our TMN Tuesdays. This mini series is in addition to our regular TMN Tuesdays going on. The mini series also happens to be scheduled on Tuesdays to make it a true TMN Tuesday. We are welcoming back Craig Hensley again for this TNT mini series, and today he's going to be joined with his biologist buddy and partner in the program, Wendy Anderson. If you're experiencing any issues with sound or anything WebEx related, check out our TMN Tuesdays link for a help guide, which is on our website. A reminder, the chat function is, we're going to be using the chat function today for questions, Q&A. And so just please keep your questions on topic and professional, and be respectful in all the comments and questions in the chat room. We're also going to hold the questions that are in the chat to be moderated at the end of the presentation. So we'll hold as Craig's going through his presentation, he can go through what he had planned, and then we'll hold those questions for the end of the presentation. We expect the session to run, it's looking like about an hour and a half today. We've got it scheduled for up to two hours, depending on the amount of questions that come in Q&A. We are recording. We expect the recording to be posted by this time tomorrow on our website. If you're watching the event live, you can record advanced training time for the amount of time that you actually watched in the webinar live. And then if you're watching the recording, you can also, those members who have to watch the TNT mini series as a recording, you can count advanced training hours for the time that you watch the recording. Attendees are not able to unmute during this WebEx meeting and event, so please use the chat box for questions, and then, as I mentioned, the questions will be moderated at the end. One last plug for our survey. If you could help us remain eligible for the funding that makes these programs and events possible, hover over the QR code to take the survey, or we've dropped the survey link in the chat as well. So thank you in advance for your participation in that survey. And down to the main event. Today we are bringing to you the Texas Nature Trackers mini series in our TMN Tuesdays series. Presenting today, primary presenter today is going to be Craig Hensley, Craig is our Texas Nature Trackers, one of our Texas Nature Trackers biologists. And then periodically, Wendy has a lot of responsibilities today, so she'll be popping in and out as her other duties and responsibilities allow. So a very popular woman today. Wendy has other presentations going on too, so she'll be in and out, helping to monitor questions and helping with the presentation. So, but they are together, our TNT biologists are bringing to you today our iNaturalist Train the Trainer workshop. And to kind of boil down what today's event will cover is, as Master Naturalists, we really need your help, or our team, our Texas Nature Tracker team really needs your help in spreading the iNaturalist and Texas Nature Tracker message and training others in your community to help get involved in this effort also. As we mentioned, this is a mini series in our TMN Tuesday events that we offer monthly from the statewide program. And this is in addition to our regular TMN Tuesdays. So we have today the mini series is the second in the mini series of the TNT mini series is offered today. And then next week we have our regular TMN Tuesday that'll be happening February 13th. So all sorts of Tuesdays coming at you this month in February. And to learn more about what's on the rest of our schedule, you can go to our website and register for all of our TMN Tuesdays in one fell swoop. Just another slide of dates that we have coming up for all of our TMN Tuesdays. Whoops, and then that's going to conclude my portion of the presentation. I am going to turn it over to Craig, one of our TNT biologists, who is going to present the main portion of today's TNT mini-series, Train the Trainer event with iNaturalist. So welcome back, Craig.
Thanks. People are going to get tired of hearing from me here pretty quick.
I doubt it. I never get tired from hearing.
All right. Can you see my screen of the presentation part of the screen? Okay.
Looking good.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So yes, Wendy is really busy today. And actually we both are. We've got this. She's got another one that's going to be going on in this. And then we're driving to Navasota for a meeting. So it'll be a complete day for us. But I want to thank you for the opportunity, Michelle and Mary Pearl, to give another presentation about another project that the Texas Nature Trackers is rolling out here in the next little while. And one of the things that we've been challenged with because we're a staff of 2 and we have statewide coverage, we've got Wendy has kind of the northern half of the state, and I have the southern half of the state all the way across, and all know how big this state is. So trying to reach everybody that requests presentations from us is sometimes challenging in terms of travel and other obligations that we have. And as the Texas Nature Trackers program continues to expand into other areas, for example, the presentation I gave recently on bat acoustic monitoring is an example of that. Those programs are going to absorb more and more of our time. So I started talking about this probably a year ago with Michelle about the idea of trying to recruit master naturalists to help us out with the delivery and spreading the good word of iNaturalist and all the possibilities of it. And so we've put together this presentation today, this workshop today, to introduce to you what we're trying to do, what you all out there would be helping us with, and how you all would benefit from that. And then to go through one of the presentations, not to actually do the presentation, but to walk you through it and what components we have that are in there. So with that, let me get to the first slide here. Figure out which screen my mouse is running off of. Here we go. Hopefully that will do it. Yeah, there we go. So today we're going to have 2 sets of slide decks. This first one here, which is about 20 slides long, and then the other one, it's an actual example of our presentation that we give. And I should mark, Wendy will be joining us when she gets a chance. She's doing a tech check for another program right now, but she'll pop in and say hi. And when you have different people working on the same kind of presentations, obviously you know that we get everybody has their own style. And one of the things that I want to emphasize from the get-go is if you decide to participate in this, you're going to present your style in your style. You don't have to try to imitate myself. You don't have to imitate Wendy. And you certainly don't have to say the exact same things that we say. We want you to be who you are, because as I can attest, when you're trying to do somebody else's presentation, it never goes that well because you don't know what each slide, what they had in their brains for each slide. So you have to kind of build this out as you see fit. And what we're trying to do is, as you'll see, is provide you enough information and enough slides so that you can personalize it to some degree. So, and I see Wendy has joined us, so I'm going to stop talking for a minute or two and let Wendy come on in. And Wendy, share what you'd like with us. And they all know you've got another commitment soon, so Go ahead and jump in.
Well, hello everyone. I am Wendy Anderson. I am the other Texas Nature Tracker biologist. I'm so thankful that you are all on the call today and you are enthusiastic about being iNaturalist trainers. Craig's going to give a fantastic presentation and I'll be in chat answering any initial questions that come through. I'll provide some links in chat, but you are in for a treat today. So thank you all so much for volunteering your time and your dedication to this project.
All righty, and good luck with your presentation in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to chime in on us. And Wendy has reviewed a lot of this, so she has kind of signed off. And I have to tell you, Master Naturalists out there, I've been blessed to work in this program now for almost 5 years. I got to start with Tanya Homayun, who many of you know, who's wonderful and has now moved on to be the state ornithologist. And now I get to work with Wendy, who's actually a real treasure to have in this program. And I'm not just blowing smoke. She really, truly is. And if you want to see how good she is, go to our Facebook page or our Instagram page and enjoy the videos that she's posting up there. So it's awesome to have her working alongside me. So it's just fantastic. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what our program is, just to remind some of you may be relatively new Master Naturalists and may not know a whole lot about our program yet. So we're going to spend a little bit of time doing that. We're going to talk about why iNaturalist is so valuable to our program and to people in general, and how this effort might work out between our program and your program, and what our expectations are, what we hope to be able to provide for you, what we hope you to kind of share what we kind of our expectations are as well, and then get into the actual presentation and walk you through the different component parts of it. So if you have questions throughout, go ahead and put them in the chat. It is being monitored, and we'll try to answer those at the end and get everything you can. Please also know this is a starting point. This is our first training for this particular format or program. And so it's going to be important to remember that there will be additional opportunities to contact you. There will also be a couple of opportunities where you'll find out, how do I sign up for it if this is something you want to do. Thank you. Sit back, enjoy, take notes if you want to. Of course, this is being recorded. I'll also provide a PDF that'll be uploaded as well. So let's do this. So first of all, Wendy and I are part of the Community Stewardship and Engagement Program. Michelle is our supervisor, by the way. We're also joined by Lee Smith, who does a lot of our outreach, captures our outreach videos and all kinds of neat productions that he is a part of. So there's a team of 4 folks trying to do as much as we can. And I think that I'm busy until I talk to Michelle and I realize she's really busy. So, but we are part of the Wildlife Diversity Program of Texas Parks and Wildlife, and proud to be a part of that. Our program, basically what we're trying to do is serve as a bridge between the iNaturalist and research conservation communities. So the iNaturalist community are those people out there that utilize the app to learn about the natural world. The research conservation community includes our Texas Natural Diversity Database. It includes working with taxobiologists, with field biologists, everybody that we can reach out to. And our goal is to get information from the public to the scientists and the researchers and those folks so that they can do their jobs even better than they could before. And as I mentioned, the Texas Natural Diversity Database, we have, in the tie to iNaturalist, is we have set up a series of projects on different taxa groups that people can join and contribute to. And notice I said the word join and then contribute to, unlike a lot of iNaturalist projects, which we'll expand on a little bit later, which you don't have to join and still be able to contribute. These are a different type of project, and we'll explain why in just a minute. So our idea is to look for what are called species of greatest conservation need, get information from those that come from the general public, vet that information through a curation process, And I should also mention that for some of our projects, we have master naturalists that are curating the projects as we speak. They help make sure that the observation is accurate in terms of identification, in terms of location data, that kind of information. And then we can take that data, do some additional curation, review, and then get that information to the Texas Natural Diversity Database, which then stores that information that then is accessible to the public, to be able to know where our unusual or rare species live. And that can be very important when it comes to, TxDOT building roads or other projects like that that can change or alter habitats across the landscape of Texas. And we certainly know that that is happening. Currently, and this is going to change, we've been talking about changing this for a while, but we are going to change. A few of these projects are going to go away, but you'll see that there are 12 projects here that we continue to monitor. And herps of Texas, mammals of Texas, and birds of Texas are our 4 largest in terms of number of organisms in there, although bees and wasps is pretty huge too. So those are the 12 projects that you can join. And again, we're focused on SGCN. The SGCN stands for a species of greatest conservation need. And what that is a native plant or animal that is declining or rare and in need of attention to recover or to present or to prevent. I don't know why I put prevent the need to list under state and federal regulations. Funny how you build these programs and you think you got everything right. There's always something. But anyway, these are a few examples. Right now, we currently have about somewhere between 1,200 and 1,300 species that are considered SGCN. And those lists are updated periodically to stay abreast of what's happening with these plants and animals. So if you want to learn more about it, and I would encourage you, if you're going to participate in this effort, I would encourage you to do that. You can simply type in, do a search for TPWD SGCN. It will take you to a link on the Google machine, and then it'll lead you right to where you can actually look at what all those species are, what the ranks are. All of that information is right there on that particular web page. So go ahead and if you're going to participate, and even if you're not, if you want to know more about SGCN, go to this page. So you've already met our team. That's the 2 of us right there. You'll see that those are our email addresses down there. Please feel free to reach out to either one of us if you have questions. And then there are our iNaturalist handles. Mine, Craig Hensley, with nothing in between, and then Wendelia. And someday she'll explain to you why it's Wendelia. It's a really great story. And then, so why iNaturalist? So first of all, iNaturalist engages the entire community. It just emphasizes community engagement. It's an open science platform, so anybody can participate. It focuses on peer-to-peer collaboration. So somebody in California or somebody in Montana who has an interest in, say, milk vines could help see other milk vines in other parts of the country and help identify it or share that information. So it's great. It's a ginormous community of like-minded folks. It also helps reveal how local areas fit into the larger picture, because every time you take a picture on iNaturalist, you're creating a voucher, and that digital voucher helps give you more of a picture of what's there, what's not. And then just to kind of show you how important this is from the scientific standpoint, between 2020 and 2023, the percent of records entered into GBIF, which is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It's a big warehouse of all of this information coming in from lots of different areas about where things are in the world. And this is compared to all other sources. This is the percentage of things that came from iNaturalist. You can see more than half of the mammals, well more than half of the reptiles and amphibians, more than half of the insects, and more than half of the plants that have gone into this information facility have come from iNaturalist. So that's impressive on its own face, and the fact that the majority of those observations are coming from non-scientists, people that are just enjoying the natural world or learning about the natural world, is even more impressive. Because if you think about it, we're talking millions of observations. If it weren't for the engagement through iNaturalist, we would understand a lot less about the natural world. And that, for that reason alone, it's important that we get the word out, continue to expand our family, if you will, of iNaturalist users, and that's how you all can contribute to that in such important ways. So in terms of how we view it, first of all, since Texas Nature Trackers initiated these iNaturalist projects back in 2013, we've had 1.5 million plus observations in those 12 projects through this past August, and every day that number increases. We've had nearly 90,000 species of greatest conservation need observations, not 90,000 species, but observations of those SGCN, and that's significant. That's very significant. In 2023, FY 2023 by itself, we had nearly 9,000 SGCN observations of 239 species. That's pretty good. And between 8,000 and 9,000 SGCN observations of just reptiles and amphibians in Texas have already been added to the natural diversity database, including a recent tranche, is that the fancy word, of over almost 2,800 new observations from the public. It also provides a tool to engage citizens of Texas in directly supporting conservation efforts by documenting this species presence. And so that might not seem like that big a deal, but it really is a big deal, because as you all know, in order for people to care about the natural world, to care about conservation in Texas, they need to be engaged. They need to have their hands in it. And this is one really powerful tool for doing that. And so the work that you do as Master Naturalist every day that you're volunteering is having that impact. This is another way to increase that impact. Just to kind of relate a quick story, when I was the park interpreter at Guadalupe River State Park, I remember hearing about iNaturalist and thinking, oh yeah, whatever, it's a passing fad, it's an app on a phone, I don't want to use my phone to learn about nature. What an idiot I was, to be honest with you, because I could have not only learned so much more, so much faster about the natural history of Texas, I could have shared that with all those people that I was giving programs for at the state park. So I was my own worst enemy in that. But so I'm a recovering denier, I guess you could say, of iNaturalist, and now I'm fully on board. So value of iNaturalist to Texans, to all of us, provides a tool for identifying the nature around them. I have 3 brothers that live in Iowa, and they don't know anything about nature. They don't understand anything about nature. And I don't know how you can care about nature if you don't know anything about it. It provides Texans with motivation to learn more, leading to more engagement. Exactly. And hopefully interest in the natural world. It provides them a real way to help resource managers understand species distribution, thus aiding in conservation efforts. When you think about conservation efforts, if you don't know where things are, or how many there are, or those kind of, iNaturalists can't do all of that. But if you don't know what you don't know, how do you practice conservation for those species? And it can also be used to engage and teach their children and grandchildren about the diversity and importance of nature. So it's a great engagement tool. And oh, by the way, Texas Parks and Wildlife did not invent iNaturalist, just so you all know. Sometimes we talk about it so much that people might think we did. So who else is using iNaturalist data? Authors of natural history books. This book right here by Heather Holmes, she's written some excellent books on wasps and bees and other pollinators. This is all of her data. A lot of her data in that book is based off of people taking pictures of wasps on flowers, and she was able to build a library, a catalog of the different native plants that different wasps forage on. And so that's pretty cool. That's one way it's being used. More than 3,000 peer-reviewed papers have used iNaturalist data. And every time it seems like I read a new research paper, there's some aspect of iNaturalist that is included in it. National, state, local agencies are using it, conservation organizations. So the feds are using it, different state conservation and wildlife agencies are using it, nonprofit agencies are using it. So it's just being used, this data is being used by a lot of people. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we as a two-person program have been in the last 5 years, we've given 175, we've given way more than 175 presentations, but we've given 175 at least that focus on iNaturalist. And I will guarantee you every other program we've given has had some aspect of iNaturalist, but 175 specific to iNaturalist. That's about 35 presentations annually. We have a statewide reach through these efforts. We have provided workshops both in person and virtually. And of course, COVID changed that. Everything was in person before that, and now is a nice blend. And another program that we promote is the City Nature Challenge. And last year, more than 100,000 observations by more than 4,700 participants across the state. So that's another way that we can use this iNaturalist tool to gather data and gather interest in the outdoors. So why create a core of TMN iNaturalist trainers? Well, the reasons should be pretty obvious, but based on what I just said, but collaborate with the largest dedicated group of citizen scientists and volunteers in Texas. I believe that is correct. I'm going to assume that it is because there's a lot of you and you're all doing a lot of great work. Provide trained presenters of iNaturalist who can multiply our efforts to build community engagement at the local level. So we can't always get out to the far ranges of the state because of a lot of other commitments. And by having you all as trained iNaturalist instructors, it allows us to leverage our efforts and build upon that. And because you live in the local community and your chapter is serving the local community, it just strengthens the ties and potentially helps recruit new master naturalists in the process. And then, of course, it builds upon your reputation as local nature experts. And then, of course, it increases awareness of local SGCN. I'm going to keep coming back to that because it's very important, and other species of interest, which helps us expand documentation of those species, and then through that raised awareness, hopefully helps with support for conservation of those species. So the goals, based on all that, the goals of our project are to create and rely upon the expertise of trained master naturalists to educate scientists to the benefits and value of iNaturalist at the local level, to create local networks of citizen science volunteers to assist with general and targeted data collection efforts, to build community conservation support for local flora and fauna and habitats through personal engagement and education on local levels. Notice the emphasis on education and engagement and being at the local level. And to increase observations of SGCN species added to our projects for building more data for the TXNDD. And frankly, because our program is expanding, it's also going to help us, allow us a little bit more flexibility in terms of focusing on these new initiatives that we're rolling out. So we look at this as certainly a benefit for us, but a benefit for your local communities and hopefully a benefit for you and your chapters. So what we'll provide initially, again, this is our first introduction to of this, but you'll receive 2 versions of our typical iNaturalist presentation if you sign up for it, that you can modify however you need to. There'll be a 3rd presentation that will be also offered up that is a more detailed presentation over one aspect of iNaturalist as well. You'll have resource materials to develop, to supplement your knowledge and skill development. We'll provide guidance, evaluation of initial presentations, because one of the things that's really important to us is the quality of the presentation. We don't want people out there giving misinformation or doing a poor job. So we want to make sure that we take our job seriously, and we want the people that are helping out with this to also take that seriously, which I'm sure that you do. We're going to also have we have a Slack channel set up for our TNT programs. There will be a particular link, and that's what it is. Again, you can pull that off of the recording or the PDF to be able to join that. So we have a communication tool between you all and us, and back and forth. Ongoing training and support as needed. We're going to provide a link to an online presentation. We can provide a link to an online presentation or Google Slides. So one of the things that we want to do, and I put a reminder in there, is to make sure that you have access to PowerPoint. And if not, we've got another alternative in terms of Google Slides. Also, Wendy has offered graciously to offer a Facebook Live iNaturalist training on Tuesday, April 11th from 7 to 8 p.m. Where you can join that, which means that you need to go and find our TNT Facebook page if you haven't already. We do a lot of posting on there on our social media, and one of our recent little videos actually was seen or reached over 500,000 people, which is pretty exciting. So there's all kinds of opportunities there, but put that down, jot that down. We'll provide more information. You can email us about those specifics if you need more help with that or have forgotten. Our expectations is that iNaturalist trainers will begin with a solid understanding of and history of with using the app and web page. So if you're brand new, if you've never downloaded iNaturalist onto your phone, you're just beginning to use it, you're probably not a great candidate. I'm just being honest, you're probably not a great candidate for initially the initial group of people teaching this right now. So if that's the case, download the app, get busy, and so that if that's an interest that you have, you can get to that point. And trust me when I say, I have been teaching about iNaturalist now for 5 years or almost 5 years, and there are questions every day, it seems like sometimes, that I have to go look up and figure out, because there's a lot to it. It's you can dive into corners of iNaturalist that most people would go, oh my gosh, get me out of here. So there's always new questions, there's always new things being applied to it, and new tweaks to it. So that's why it's best to start with some baseline information. iNaturalist trainers will use the provided, presentations, modifying it to fit individual presentation styles, as I mentioned, while keeping the basic outline and outcome goals consistent. iNaturalist trainers will keep slides up to date as necessary. I'll identify some of those slides that will change routinely because new data is coming in every minute of the day, it seems. And iNaturalist trainers will promote and deliver programs of high quality in a personable and helpful demeanor. Kind of goes without saying, because we want this to be a community effort. So we want people that enjoy talking to the public. If you don't like talking to the public, there's no reason for you to even want to do this, because you would find it very stressful and probably unenjoyable. iNaturalist trainers will report their presentations on the provided form for TNT documentation. We just want to know how this program is going, so that's why being in contact with you throughout will help us gather information that we can share out in a reporting format as we were required to do as a state agency. And then iNaturalist trainers will meet periodically with us for reviews and updates. How that is going to work, how many times that is, we can't actually answer that right now. This is, again, like with the bat acoustic monitoring project, we're rolling this out. So we'll be learning through the process. So one thing I would suggest is patience. Patience is always a good thing. So the goals of an iNaturalist workshop. So first of all, it's to give a brief introduction to who the TNT program is, and in your case, to who the TMN program is. The projects that we have, why and how we contribute. We'll show you some of those slides that we use to do exactly that. Introduce iNaturalist, obviously, how it works briefly, and creating an account. You then move on to reviewing the app and how to actually use it. And these are the slides that we'll be providing for you. And then providing tips on getting quality photos for better ID suggestions. And this is something that's becoming increased as we get more and more people using iNaturalist. It's more and more important that they understand it in order to get a species to research grade or to have a chance for a positive ID, we have to have good enough pictures to be able to look at that, for people to be able to review. And keep in mind too is that, and I'll say this more than once, not everything that's photographed in iNaturalist can be identified to a species. It's just the reality. So we have to kind of temper that reality or that thought that everything can be identified by a naturalist. It simply can't. Then you, of course, introduce the iNaturalist webpage, demonstrate how to open up, upload images from a camera to iNaturalist, demonstrate how to upload observations to the TNT projects that we have. And then finally, provide an overview of what kinds of projects are out there, how to create one, introducing Seek app for younger users, actually for every user. And then also when the timing is right, introducing City Nature Challenge and the Texas Pollinator BioBlitz. Now you're gonna sit there and look at this and go, that is a lot of stuff. Guess what? It is a lot of stuff. That's why there are times where you can't do it all in all the detail you might want to be able to do it with, because there are going to be requests for a 1 hour, 45-minute, or a 1 hour presentation where you have to provide just a broad overview, hitting the highlights without being able to do a deep dive into every aspect of iNaturalist. You might get a 90-minute presentation, allows for a little bit more detailed look. Maybe it provides a little bit more time in a 2-hour workshop, or where you can actually go outside if you're in person with your audience and let them practice using iNaturalist, the actual app, so that then you have a period of time where you can actually ask questions. They can ask questions if there are issues with it before your presentation ends. And then sometimes we'll get asked by a chapter or in a group to come out and give a big major workshop and then do a BioBlitz. So if that's the case, that's when we would encourage you, especially initially this first year or so, to reach out to us and say, hey, I've got this group that wants to do this and this and this and this, and then let us find out if there's a way that we can come out and work with you to pull that off and not put all of that onus just on you. So we look at this as a partnership, not just we're turning this over to you and good luck. That's not the objective here. So these are just what we're going to do next is actually go into that upper left-hand presentation that I have that I've been using, and this is one that Wendy has developed. You'll get copies of both of those, and then that third presentation, as I mentioned, for those of you that actually decide to sign up to try to do this. So you're going to see this slide more than once, but if you're interested, you can reach out to me. Both of us are involved in the program, but we're going to try to send everything through one network, one email. And you need to provide the following information in your email. We're not doing this as a sign up form like we did with the bat acoustic monitoring project, because I think the number of people will be smaller. And so we feel like we can handle it by email. But provide your name, an email, a phone number, a TMN chapter name, and answer this question, yes or no, do you have access to PowerPoint? Because that'll be very important as we develop this project out. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this presentation. You should see my screen pop up, and I'm going to drop that one, and I'm going to open up the second one right here. Let's see if I can get this thing started. And if someone could just give me a heads up that you can actually see what says.
You can see it, Craig.
Hey, perfect. It's working just like it should. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So this is an example of one of the presentations that we give. For example, this one was given to the Hill Country Master Naturalist class back in November. So what I'm not going to do is actually go through every slide in detail. That's not the purpose today. What we're trying to do here is show you the types of slides we put in, some pointers, that we need to keep in mind. And we want you to get to thinking like a presenter for this type of program. So that's the approach we're going to take today. And hopefully that will work for what you're trying to learn today as well. So we always have an introductory slide that identifies who we are, the date, the name of the program, and I should go back to that. So right now we have Texas Parks and Wildlife, we have Texas Nature Trackers. You would probably, if you have a logo for your chapter, you could add that to your cover slide. But provide that information right off the bat, which is especially valuable when you're if you end up doing something online. So again, these are slides that we include. You've already seen this slide. These are just the very interested or very introductory slides as to who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it. Again, what is an SGCN? And please, we're not trying to read all the details of these slides. I'm just trying to work through them relatively quickly. So again, we talk about what is an SGCN. We give some examples. What you could do with this, for example, you could go to that web link and go, okay, what SGCNs are found in our chapter area, and then go find photographs of those, which, by the way, you can get off of iNaturalist and look for copyrights, and where they allow for them to be used, you can populate photographs, or perhaps you or other chapter members have photographs of SGCN in your area. So you can personalize this slide to match where you are, because what's going on in the Llano Estacado is going to be a little bit different than in the East Texas chapter, obviously. And then we also always put up a slide of our web page. Our web page is under development or under modification right now, and so it doesn't look as clean as this particular image is. But in this, we have three different things. You can see there's projects, there's target species, and there's get involved. Those are links you can click on. And the project page is where you can click on the 12 projects that are there now. Again, this number will decline when we can get it to do that, get access to do that. Whole separate issue. But in order for an observation to be added to our projects, you actually have to join our projects. You have to click on one of these. There'll be a bar that says join project, and then it'll allow you to do that. Just as also a reminder, we also let the public know that our program has Facebook and Instagram availability. You can also plug your your Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media you have. You can plug that and plug your program and what your program's about. So this is an opportunity to advertise your chapter for every presentation you give as well. So then we're going to move right into introducing iNaturalist. And by the way, that slide, that hand, is a master naturalist. And you're welcome to use that or create your own slides. Again, your background slides don't have to match ours. Take advantage of what you have. So that's important. I see there are people already emailing me about this. I need to turn the volume down. I don't know if you can hear that, but let's not have that clicking on my phone nonstop. Hopefully they're signing up for it, not going, this is terrible. Anyway, so we're going to introduce iNaturalist generally. Here's the slide that just is a little bit of a historical slide as to how many observations there were when we started back in 2013 partnering with iNaturalist. And then we do put in iNaturalist's goals and what they are, so that we can promote that from what they stand for. And then we also will show maps, and usually one entire page for one map, where you can show how many observations there are globally, how many observations there are in the United States or North America or in Texas. And that gives people an idea, especially the Texas map, to show how much data has been added because of this project. So a key point is to update each of these. And that's really important for that, because these numbers change on a daily basis. So if you give a program tomorrow, and then you don't do another one for 4 months, you should go in and update this slide by taking a screenshot of the most recent numbers, and that's one of the standard things that we do with our presentation, is where we're talking about numbers, things like that. We go back in and we look it up to make sure that we're as up to date as we can be. We also typically show this slide, and you'll notice you can go through this just as it is. What I like to do is, and it's not in the sequence that I talk about, but I will actually highlight, who you are in terms of just introducing that you have to create an account, evidence of what you saw, the photo or the sound, what you saw, identifying some suggestion, when you saw it, and then also where you saw it. So you can, again, use this slide any way that you wish, that works for you. And then also, we also try to include a slide about citizen science data, and when you make an observation, like, what exactly is it? So here's a real life example of an observation, and that it is providing that digital voucher for the presence of an organism. And that's something to keep in mind. It's not telling us it's not there. If you don't have a photograph of something, it's telling you what is there. All right, so then we move into creating an account. And the key point to remember on this one is there are two ways to create an account. One way is you can create it from your phone by the first time you download it. And it's pretty easy to do, or you can go to the web page and do the exact same thing. And when you click on that, where it says log in or sign up, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. You fill out that information, and then all you have to do is click on the account, create an account, and you've done it. Now, regardless of which method you use to create the account, and you need to really emphasize this with your folks that you're teaching, is once you've created your account, you need to set the time zone. The default for creating an account is Hawaii time. And I know it gets hot here, but this ain't an island, and it looks a little bit different. So to do that, it's actually fairly easy, but you can only do it. You have to make sure you tell people that. And if you don't know this, you got to get this embedded in your head. They have to go to the web page to make that modification. You can't change the time zone from the app on either phone. Okay. And the reason that's important is that, for example, if you do a workshop and then you're going to do a BioBlitz and people are just downloading it for the first time and they don't have the time zone set, and you've created a project and people's stuff is going into the project real time, but somebody is in Hawaii time, it's not going into the project. And the reason I tell you this is because the very first time I did a workshop that included a mini BioBlitz, some people's stuff was going in and some people's was not. And I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And that's when I learned about the time zone thing. And so I learned it the hard way. So I wanted to emphasize that so that people aren't frustrated by that. So to do that, it's actually pretty simple. We explain it through 4 easy steps from the web page. So that slide is right there for you to be able to utilize. So then the next thing we do is to go into the actual app itself. So we've kind of set the stage now with some slides about our organization, what we do, why we do it. We've talked about creating the account. Now we're going to talk about the actual app and how it works. A key point, you must review both phones. And we've set up our presentations to show them side by side so that you can talk about the Apple, the iPhone, and you can talk about the Android at the same time. Because although there's a lot of overlap, there's a few differences that are significant. And most of us, and the challenge here is most of you only have one style of phone. So you may only know iNaturalist from the Android or from the iPhone. And so these slides will help you get up to speed on the other style of phone. All right, so what we do is we've taken screenshots of both of the apps on the different phones, and then what we do as we go through this is we just keep reviewing each one of these. And so we've also, you'll notice that I don't know if Wendy does this, but I like to use a lot of these animations to make points. And so I will do that, as you can see there. So again, you can modify these as you wish. And so we will start with going through what does the basic thing, what can you do on a phone? So you can look at all of these different things. And again, the challenge with this is you can end up spending a lot more time than you have if you get too lost in the weeds. So keep that in mind. I am the champion of getting lost in the weeds, or one of the champions anyway. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to show how these different things work. And so we're going to start with the camera. You've got the action option of a camera roll, which means the picture's on your phone, or recording a sound on either one of these through the app. And then you can also make documentations with no photos, but then you don't get much out of it in terms of people verifying what you think you saw or what you think you heard. So what we do is we start off with just, and again, you can put this in any order that's comfortable for you. I'm going to typically spend most of my time going through all of the steps for the camera. So I save that to the last. Some people may prefer to do the camera first, then do the camera roll, and then do the recording. That is up to you. This is just one sequence of doing that. So I'll do the camera roll. You'll notice I'll start adding these images here and then here. And the cool thing about this is you all, if you want to personalize this, so you're not using Craig Hensley or Wendy Anderson's thing, if you have your photographs on your camera, you can take screenshots, use this as a model, and take screenshots of each of these steps and build your own collection that is appropriate for you, being that you're the one teaching it. And it kind of goes back to that. Well, if you use mine and you go, what the heck is that thing? How do I know it's Heller's beard tongue? Use your phone and your images to create these panels for your presentation. Don't hesitate to do that at all. This will serve as a model, if nothing else. So again, we just go through the process, then we do the record sound. We do all of this, again, taking screenshots. One recommendation that we always stress with recordings is that that if you turn on the recorder, the bird stops singing, or the frogs or the toad stops singing. So make sure that they understand they need to leave the recording on for at least 15 seconds is what I recommend. Just a little aside. So again, here we go. This is how you do this. Now, one thing that's important here is that sounds are not identified by the AI on the phone. So they're not going to suggest an ID. So you have to fill it in. So if you're out there and you record a sound and you upload it to iNaturalist, if you don't put anything there under what did you see, a lot of times people will ignore it. Other people that might be helping you identify it will just not even look at it. So really important to put something there. So if you think it's a bird, just type in bird, or you think it's an amphibian, type in amphibian, and that at least puts a placeholder so that somebody else that's interested in helping you ID your bird calls, your amphibian calls, will then potentially look at that to do that. So you got to remind people that they need to put something there. And then another slide just showing what the symbols look like. And then, of course, the big one is the phone, actually taking pictures. So we start through this process right here. One of the things that we do emphasize is that you want to take the picture with your actual cell phone camera or through the lens of iNaturalist. In an iPhone, we always stress that with an iPhone, you can't, iNaturalist doesn't allow editing on the iPhone through their pictures. The Android does. That's one of those differences that you have to learn, okay? Then the cell phone camera allows that editing. You can do that, and then you can go through the other process of uploading from your through your photo bank. So just another key point to just stress, and that's why we put this suggestion in here. So again, we just go through the process. We talk about the image itself, adding more images, the what did you see? Again, provides some kind of placeholder. So even if you don't know what it is, you still want to put something. You can, if it's a plant, put a plant. If it's a bug or whatever, put that. That at least allows some identification. But one of the cool things, of course, about iNaturalist is it will offer you suggestions. Here's the thing. These are suggestions. And that's something to really, really stress to folks. Because sometimes those suggestions are way off. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. So it's never, a lot of times it's a definitive. A cardinal's a cardinal's a cardinal, right? And iNaturalist picks up on a cardinal pretty well. But there may be other things out there, a lot of other things out there you just can't. It might be a bee, it could be some kind of other insect or a species of centipede or whatever it may or may not be able to identify. So you just have to keep that in mind that these are suggestions, and picking the best suggestion is a way to do that. So stress that with those folks. Then in terms of accuracy, the only thing I want to point out here is that these are the same picture taken with two different phones. I mean, the same organism taken with two different phones, and wildly different accuracies and even locations, yet the latitude and longitude are the same. So where our project is, this is again going back to the TNT projects, in order for us to take an observation, one of the key checkpoints is it less than 500 meters from where it was found? If it's more than that, it's not very reliable in terms of location information. So location is important when you're training them up generally, but certainly specifically for our TNT programs. Then you can make adjustments by using either the maps, we throw those slides up there. Then you can also, we talk about being able to protect if you're on private land. You don't want the public seeing that record of a Texas horned lizard. You can obscure it or make it private. So those are things you'll stress with them. The one thing to keep in mind, if they have an observation that they put into one of our projects, that we as curators will be able to see the actual location information. And that's really important for us. And then there's captive and cultivated, and we could spend an hour just on that, and we're not gonna. Only to say that captive and cultivated, when you select captive or cultivated, it becomes a casual observation. So it's never going to become a research grade observation, which is ultimately the goal for a lot of people, is to have their observations research grade. And certainly for us, we're going to use that as a qualifier as well. And if you want to go into a serious rabbit hole, go get on their forums about captive versus cultivated. And it's an amazing dive into craziness, somewhat, if you will. And then in terms of projects, this is a point where you can add if you have joined our TNT projects, as you can see across the top up there, Texas Eagle Nest, Texas Milkweeds and Monarchs. You'll notice they have a toggle on the right. And so when you join our project, you submit it to one of our projects, you actually have to do the toggle in order to get it to go to that project. Otherwise, it doesn't go. So again, that's something to emphasize. Most projects, if it's the right taxa group and the right location, it'll automatically pick it up and put it in their project. So we emphasize that as well. And again, I just mentioned that right there for you. All right, and then it's just about sharing. And just again, to point out, this is a slide that Tanya's husband took, Tanya Homayun's husband took. I'm assuming the first choice was actually correct, but I just want to show you that sometimes suggestions are way out there, like these being black bears or wild boars or American bison. The bear obviously did not. So you can add some humor. This is an opportunity to add some humor to your presentation. Don't be afraid of humor, and don't be afraid of storytelling, that kind of thing. That's what makes it a better presentation over time. All right, so we've got some other random slides that we throw in here. If you're talking about bio-blitzing with the group, we've got slides in here that show you how to turn off the auto upload feature so that you can do your bio-blitzing and then turn it back on and upload. This is especially true when you're out and away from good internet connection. We do the same thing for the Android. So you can see those slides are available for you to use. Then we have this whole section on photography tips. The key point is that not every organism can be identified by a photograph, but you want to try your best. One of the things that I have promoted for years is this, or a couple of years, is this Zenvo 15 power magnifier unit. Allows you to get super close on super small organisms. Now, some of the newer phones do a really good job of that too. But a couple things to keep in mind. The better the picture, the better a chance you have of getting a good suggestion or a series of suggestions you can work with. So one of the things that always comes up is plants are easy. They don't run from you, right? They don't fly away. So you can take lots of pictures. Don't just take one picture of a plant, especially if you think it's a rare plant. You want to get a picture of the flower if it's available, the leaves, the back of the flower with the scale. That scale could be a ruler, it could be my hand, your hand. The entire plant. If it has fruit, get a picture of the fruit. All of those things when it comes to plant identification are very important. And keep that in mind, that the reason that's important is that's how we do it with a taxonomic key or a flora guide of plants. We have to use all those characteristics together to help us with our IDs. Very important to keep in mind. All right. Other things that we suggest is, flower leaf arrangement. We talk about compound versus simple leaves. We talk about using the underside of the leaves if they're real hairy or scaly or whatever. Taking pictures of, when it comes to woody plants, of the flowers, the fruit, the bark, thorns, tendrils. There's all kinds of options. Think about it this way, the more information we can build up, the easier it becomes to make a possible identification down the road. Tree bark is certainly an option as well. When you're photographing invertebrates, there's a lot, you just got to get the best picture you can. This is where you instruct folks to be patient. Those compound eyes of insects are really effective for finding motion or detecting motion. So that's why you got to move at them slowly, and you can get some decent pictures even with a cell phone. Now, if you have a camera, you may get pictures of a series of birds that have multiple species. You can take those and go back to your computer, crop each one of those, and so you've got 3 observations there instead of one that iNaturalist is trying to figure out which one of these birds are you wanting us to identify. The other thing with birds especially is that cropping images on the computer can be done. This picture right here might only pick up the stems of the plant, but if I crop it, it may not be the best quality picture, but we emphasize with folks that it may help with the identification. And then also you want to remind people that tracks and dead animals count as well. All right, so where are we here? Here's what I want to do. We are at 12:02. What I'd like to do is take a 2-minute break because I need to take a good long drink of water. My throat's getting scratchy. So take 2 minutes, and we will get this thing wrapped up in the next 30 minutes with the rest of the slides, and then we'll get to your questions. So we're going to just take literally 2 minutes. And right now it is literally 12:03. We will resume at 12:05. So drink your water if you got it. That's what I'm saying. And Bev Clark, I saw your comment on animal scat. That is true.
Hey, Craig, while we're in this break, would you mind sharing that slide of what information volunteers need to send you over email to participate?
Oh, yeah, you mean in terms of in the chat?
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me see how I'm going to do that with the way my screens are set up here. Let me find. Let's see. What does this do? Chat. There's chat. So let me pull up chat. And let's see. Let me do. Which way should I do this? Let me, without going, let me just flash through some pictures here and find that. I'm gonna have to go to the end here. I don't want to get out of this presentation and then have to reload it and find where I start from here. So bear with me. close. Okay, so can I share this slide? Well, I'm not sure how to share that actual slide, but there's the information.
I'll put that information in chat. Thanks, Craig.
Yep, sorry about that. I know you could have figured this out, Wendy. Well, yes, I do know I can take a screenshot, but trust me, with the way everything is contributed right here now, that would be easier said than done, or more difficult as it is right now. So, or I guess Wendy can take a screenshot, or anybody else can take a screenshot. Okay, I believe it's time to start up again. So, bear with me. We'll come back to that at the end of the presentation too. So. Okay, hopefully everybody's learning what's on every one of these slides at the exact same moment I'm flashing through them. Okay. All right, we're going to start again. So the next section is going to be iNaturalist, the web page, the review of the web page. This can be long, it can be super involved, or it can be very short, depending on the length of your presentation. I've actually done a presentation for the Alamo chapter where the entire hour is nothing but the web page. The web page involves so much. But the idea about the web page, we all think about using the app, but the web page offers you so much opportunity to explore. We want people to go there. Plus, when you create an account, you get your own account on the iNaturalist web page, and so that's where your information is, where your data is, where you can go in and look at things. You can go explore. There's all kinds of things. So we want to emphasize that, and somehow that went away for a second. So when you look at it, you'll see that there's that outlined in red. Those are the things that you can look at from the global standpoint of iNaturalist. And if you look over on the right side, you see where it says upload, has a little mail thing where email is, has a chat where people have given their opinions, and then you have another device there. So let me show this if I can get it. So right here with the community, this is where you can look for other iNaturalist users. You can look at the forum. You can look for projects through that down arrow. Under more, that's where the taxa info is. So you can explain to people if they're looking for an image, they can go there. If you're looking for an image for your presentation, you can go there and find one that you can insert into your presentation. So it's super helpful. I've used that particular aspect a lot. You'll notice that's where you find help. I wish this was its own thing, but it's not. So it's under that more tab. But that's where you're going to find all kinds of information on help. We'll show you a slide of what that looks like in a little bit. And then over here on the right side, as I mentioned, there's where your upload is. If people email you through your iNaturalist account, which occasionally happens, people ask how to use if they can use a picture or something like that, you can do that. And if I get that, and if you click on that, here's your dashboard, edit observations. This is just a shortcut. When I'm exploring in different parts of iNaturalist, I always use that and use the dashboard to get back to the main page. So then when it comes to your page, you can see that there's lots of tabs here. Three of the biggest tabs are your observations, your IDs, and your projects. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this today, but we're just giving you kind of a highlight, and you can see you can really dive into this if that's what you want to do, if you're given the time in your presentation. So again, we're going to have whole nother presentation that focuses just on this that we'll share with folks that sign up for this opportunity. And I did want to throw in a slide. We always throw this slide in. You can put this anywhere in your presentation on what research grade is, because that's often a frequent question. So that slide's available for you to be able to utilize. And then we also do spend some slides on how to upload an image from your camera to the web page, and that's especially valuable for folks that are shooting pictures of birds or wildlife that they can't get close to. So we walk through that, this exact slide. I'm just going to go through them. How you can see we take lots of screenshots and then we match them up as we go through this process. Again, this is something you can do with your particular images if you choose that, or you can use ours. Then after we've done that, then the next thing we're going to do is turn to projects. And there are lots of different kind of projects. And one thing that will be important that everybody understands, and a lot of times this gets missed by folks that they get excited about it, is that anybody can create a project after they first get 50 verifiable observations in iNaturalist. So that's really important that they get those observations first before you can start a project. And that's important for you to know, because one of the things you may want to do in terms of prepping to teach this is to set, if you've never set up a project, set up a project for your yard and go through the process of doing that. And Wendy and I can train you on that in more detail if you need help there. But we do go through examples of the different types of projects, from bioblitzes to specific taxa species. So here's insects of the Texas Hill Country, to a location, a specific location. And in this case, it's butterflies at Guadalupe River State Park. Here's a property-based project. And this is one of the ways I like to try to hook folks is, hey, you can do this in your backyard. So you can, let's say you're out there and you're trying to plant some native plants in your yard to attract pollinators, which is what I did. So this is real life. I created a project on iNaturalist, so I document what I planted. Now, granted, those aren't, because they're planted, they're casual observations. They don't get to research grade. I've accepted that. I know what they are. But I take a picture of those when they're blooming. I take a picture of everything that comes to my yard, and it builds up a beautiful database. So if you're, I have a 1D1 thing, for example, and one of your practices is to document. iNaturalist becomes a great tool, and you can emphasize that with your audience. It becomes a great tool for building that database for your 1D1 reports each year. And then, of course, you can go in and you can pick up all kinds of more detailed information. You can share that with them if you have time. Here's another type of example of a bioblitz. So again, you can go in and find these, create your own selection. What I usually do, if I'm going to be teaching up in the Dallas area, I'll go find iNaturalist projects from that area, or maybe that chapter, if I'm working with Master Naturalist, has already, so that they can see that and can be reminded of it. Or if I do it in El Paso, the same thing. So these are changeable slides. And then I really do try to emphasize the importance of iNaturalist. We do this with our presentations. You might want to do this at the beginning of your presentation. You could save it at the end. I kind of save it towards the end just to kind of have that final, hey, this is why this is important kind of stuff. So again, we put in examples of projects. These are just a few of the examples. You can find examples from your area. Maybe you have an example, and share that personal knowledge, that personal information that you have. So here's one of our projects, for example, that we highlight how many observations get put into the TXNDD as a result of public participation. Here's one where biologists have actually used iNaturalist data to determine extending hunting opportunities for squirrels. That slide really did appear on a commission meeting. When we had Storm Uri, we got lots of information about dead animals. We created a project and we got a few thousand observations of what had happened. People wanted to report, they wanted to do something. So very important. And then this is just a way to show how this magnifies the work of our local biologists, in this case, the Houston area with the City Nature Challenge. And then if you have an example, like here's Sam Kieschnick and his colleague showing off that being able to use this data in real application to your local community can be very valuable to build support for a local park or nature trail or whatever that somebody's thinking about doing something different with. this is a way to advocate for nature. And then we always have a slide that says, what does it do and what doesn't it do? So we really try to emphasize this, and you can build this into the end of your program right after the talking about the app, wherever you want to put it, but it's an important slide to include to talk about what the limitations of it are. And then here's that, if you clicked on help, this is the help guide stuff. So for your development and your processing as you get ready to do this project, this is a great resource for you. It has video tutorials. It has all kinds of questions, standard questions. I would really strongly, if you're going to do this, and even if you're not and you're just trying to learn iNaturalist, this is a great resource, obviously. But this is the place to go to really get a lot of those detailed questions answered, besides Wendy and I. And then we do have the we've put in I'm going to go through these very quickly, but we do try to promote the Seek app, because actually Seek is downloaded far more times than iNaturalist is. The nice thing about Seek is you can actually download observations from Seek if you do have iNaturalist. A lot of people just find it easier to use. And it's also was originally designed for younger users that aren't over the age of 13. But we find that a lot of people from across the board of all ages do it. So this is a kind of a Seek for the classroom. Sometimes you might get teachers that reach out to you and go, hey, we want to do this iNaturalist in a BioBlitz. How do we do it? This is a way to start that conversation. And again, that's one of those things you can reach out to us and we can help. I've given workshops to teachers on how to use iNaturalist, so we have presentations like that we can share as well. So this just goes through Seek. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You can see that you have lots of options slides here. Be able to share how it works. You can go into as much detail as you want to. So we tried to provide as many slides as we could. What a beautiful picture of a yellow-billed cuckoo, huh? So again, these are more slides you can use. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, so don't worry. You'll be able to look at them when you get the PDF. But it just shows you the different options that you have for sharing more information about Seek. And at some point, we'll get through these slides. There's a lot of them. So lots and lots of it. This is the kind of detail you get with the presentation on the webpage, by the way. So there's a lot of opportunity to share information. And thank you to Wendy for a lot of those right there. So, and when Michelle, when you get back on live, this is a question I have for you. So we are at our programs, we always put this, as Michelle does. Is this something that Master Naturalists should include at the end of theirs as well?
That's a great question. I'll need to ask.
Okay, because we do it because we're told to by the state.
Yeah.
By our folks. So we'll verify that. But if you didn't screenshot that and you want to take the survey because of today's training, here's a giant image of that little thing. And feel free to take a picture, a screenshot of that right now, and then you can do the survey. Okay. So here we are. Again, back to that slide. Are you interested? The information, again, that we'd like to send it to me by email. Name, email, phone number, TMN chapter, and do you have access to PowerPoint? Those questions are really important. Now, what we're going to do is obviously we're going to collect the names we can. We're going to give it 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe right now, everything else going on, it might be March before we actually get back in touch with you, but we will be back in touch with you. We'll create we've got that Slack channel that we've got the link to it. We'll share with you via email after the 1st of March. And then we will get moving forward in getting the ball rolling and getting you the presentations and the information you need and things like that. So give this some real thought. If you're really interested in doing this, And I've talked to chapter members that have been interested in this for a long time. And there probably are chapter members out there already doing this. So great on you if you are one of those folks. You are welcome to beg, borrow, and use these slides as you need to for your presentation. So very, very important. A couple of things, and then we'll get to questions. There's my email stuff, and why I didn't put Wendy's on there, I do not know, but I did at the beginning. So apologize for that. But when you get done, the point of this slide is to always allow time for questions. And also then, if you're using iNaturalist, provide them with your iNaturalist username so that they can look you up and follow you and that kind of thing. So, but a couple of things to keep in mind. When you're doing your presentation, as you always know, I know you all know this or should know this, be personable, answer the questions that you can. If you can't answer all the questions, and I run into that on occasion, I still do after 5 years, do everything you can to find out the answers so that you can address that later. Provide them an email address to send you a question so they can email you and you can answer the question in the post period. So anyway, so that's the kind of presentation you can offer. Again, it's going to vary depending on your size of your audience, the amount of time you're given. I would say to you that if somebody calls up and says, hey, can you come talk about iNaturalist, and I'm going to give you 20 minutes to do it, I think you have the option of going, maybe that's, trying to advocate for more time, because there's a lot of information, as you've seen here, and we want to give it an adequate treatment as we go through the process. So I am going to stop sharing right now. There we go. And Wendy, thank you very much. I see you've been answering questions like crazy as they're flying through. So
No problem.
And Craig,
what,
there's actually one thing I'm hoping you can address before we kind of move into
Sure.
kind of moderating some of the questions in the chat.
Sure.
So today you've introduced a potential volunteer service project for our Texas Master Naturalists. Can you go over some items that definitely related to this in their participation in this that definitely cover or would be covered as service, and then also mention the guidelines for recording service, and because it's a little bit of a tangent, recording service for iNaturalist and eBird, that document that we have, and then also saw some chatter of setting up a project in their backyard. But the service actually service is counted when you contribute to TNT projects.
Right.
So, and your camera is pointing at your tummy.
Oh, it's a beautiful, I forgot, I'm normally used to the camera being up there. Thank you for pointing that out. Oh my goodness. That could have been embarrassing. But it wouldn't be, but still. Okay, so yeah. So let's talk about your volunteer use as a iNaturalist and what you get to count for service time. First of all, how do I say this the right way? So the challenge is, and you have to understand that I come from a long history of nonprofit background and a work ethic that just says, I'm just going to go do the work I need to do to get my job done, and not worry about all the detail of reporting all the time. Michelle doesn't want to hear this, but it's just true. So when you're using iNaturalist in your backyard, you don't get to count that time. Okay, that's just the rule. And if I say anything wrong here, Mary Pearl and Michelle jump in, because we went through this. This was a long process. It still kind of makes me get shaky when I think about it when it comes back up, because there was so much discussion over it over time. But so if you're contributing to observations to a TNT project, you get to count that you get to count taking the picture, uploading it time, right? And if
that's
you're
the TNT projects on that will be on the website.
Yes, that will be on the
That will
website.
be on the
Yes,
TNT website. So
yes, exactly.
there's some updating that needs to be done there.
Yes,
And
exactly. And
we're
those are
getting
issues.
there.
Yeah, those are issues we're not going to talk about here.
Beyond our control.
I'll get, yes, exactly. Thank you. So though that's time you can count, but let's say you go and you go, hey, I'm going to go out to El Paso and I want to take pictures on iNaturalist because I just want to go out there and see. That's on your time. You're doing that. Okay. That's not gonna count, especially if you don't upload anything to the TNT projects. So you have to draw a line somewhere. And in terms of this as a service project, if you and Michelle, you can help here. Um, so if you get these presentations and you go, man, I need to review these and I need to modify and build. Michelle, I'm assuming that if they're actually signed up and are going to deliver a program and they're putting together the program, that time counts as service time, right?
So yeah, first of all, the project would need to be reviewed and approved at your local chapter level. And it's set up in VMS. And then as a train the trainer for iNaturalist Texas Nature Trackers, your time preparing the presentation for the audience that you're going to be delivering it to would count as service,
Yeah.
as well
So,
as the delivery of the presentation to that audience.
correct. And the travel and the regular things that you associate with giving a presentation. So those all count. But when you're using iNaturalist, yeah, I would just say use common sense. And I would also advocate for not taking advantage of that. Because I think you get into sticky situations there. But if you're again participating in a BioBlitz, so for example, TNT is going to be having BioBlitzes this year at 4 or 5 different locations, and you're participating in that BioBlitz. By all means, if you're there taking pictures and uploading, that's part of the process. That's part of the service, if you will. Just like if you let's say you're going to give a presentation and you got 2 hours and you're going to take a half hour to go out and do a mini BioBlitz. That's all part of the process. That's all part of the education process. It's all part of the service learning. And then let's say you go home and you go, I want to go through the observations that people made and help with identifications. My assumption is that while you're doing that for that specific presentation you gave and the resulting BioBlitz data, you could count that because you're still helping those people with their identifications. To me, that would be service hours that could be a service hour that could be counted. Am I fair to say that?
I believe so. Again, all projects would need to be reviewed and approved at your local chapter level. And then, in the event of those presentations that you're giving, be specific in your logbook entries about what you're doing and what all the time is for.
Yeah.
And I've added in the chat the document that you referenced, Craig, about
Okay, good. Thank you.
It was actually 2 different documents that Craig helped us to develop as guidance for master naturalists when logging your volunteer service hours for community science projects and programs. And so it's a great reference tool.
It is a good reference and you utilize it because it should clarify a lot of the answers that are sometimes out there and have in the past created some confusion. So, but anyway, so this is going to be one of those things too that we may reach out to you if you really get into this and just kind of over time and say, hey, how much time is this how much time are you having to put in to do this? So that we have an idea going forward. We know that when we develop a program from scratch, it takes time. There's a dedicated effort. What we're trying to do is say, hey, here's these presentations, utilize them. Don't start from scratch. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel to save yourself some time and be able to then focus on those presentations. So again, it's at your, what your chapter allows for you to do and your discretion, but try not to abuse it, I guess is what I would say. So think of the greater good. It's fair to say that or not. I hope that, did that help, Michelle? Okay. So do you have, are there questions? Is Wendy still able to be here? Or?
I think she had to do the other webinar.
Oh, that's right. She had to start at 12:30. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if we've got questions, I'll try to answer as many of them as we can get to, and try to do my best job. And again, if there's something that I can't answer specifically, let me put my email in here. You can email me with those questions. So I'll turn it over to whoever's
questions
gonna.
might be common enough, Craig, that it would be worth pulling these off of chat to help facilitate creating an FAQ document.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Then be then you've got time to answer those questions thoroughly. I know you're short on time today, so we could pull those chat questions off, send them to you, get the answers back, create that FAQ document to then put on our website, on Yale's website, any other website that we want to.
That's a great idea. Thank you for suggesting that. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
So if you have questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. Put them in chat for us to be able to create that FAQ document so that we can answer those questions, because they're probably a question that somebody else also has.
And I just want to thank everybody that attended today too. And again, if there's a few questions, I've got time to answer a few questions if you find some specific. But I want to thank you all for taking the time. Some of you may have done the BAT one within just the last couple of weeks and taken a couple hours there, and we really appreciate it. We're trying to grow our project, our TNT program, the best that we can, and we are firm believers in the TMN program and what you all do, and I spend a lot of my time going, oh, you know what, the Texas Master Naturalist could do that. And so I won't call it throwing you under the bus, but I give you, I try to promote the possibility of what you guys, the impact that you can have, and knowing that you already have a massive impact across the state. So I'm a huge supporter of what y'all do, and being able to work with you all on something like this, or the bat acoustic monitoring, or the bat bridges, or whatever we'll be rolling out, is just is a win-win. For Texas, it's a win-win for me. It's a win-win, hopefully, for you, and we appreciate that. So thank you again for the opportunity. And I see a lot of questions and things are coming back in. Oh, the QR code. Let's see here. I guess I can share my screen. Let's see here.
Yeah, thank you guys. While he's looking for that, for dropping your questions in the chat. That will be what we'll use to build that FAQ document. To be able to answer all of those questions more efficiently and share that information with everybody.
Hang on just a second. I put it away. Let me reopen it. And thanks to you guys too, Michelle and Mary Pearl, for allowing us to do this again.
Always.
It's okay, from the current slide. Now let me see if I can share this baby. I love having 3 screens, but when you never know which screen is going to the actual arrow. I can't get
your
it
own
off
personal
this.
setup today.
No, it's not. No, so I'm borrowing somebody else's. All right, here we go. There it is, and then share. Okay, there it is again. Okay.
And this is the participation survey, right?
Correct. This is the participation survey. So, and again, I'm going to be at a meeting the next day and a half, but I will be watching for emails coming in for folks that are interested. And then Mary Pearl, when I get all those, or Michelle, when I get all those questions, I will start working on that FAQ. That's a great idea.
Yes, sir. And in the meantime, I will take the recording from today, put it on the website, and then if you'll send me your slides as well, Craig, I'll put those
Yep.
up whenever I get them.
Hey,
So that'll,
did you get that last one? Were you able to
yes, yep,
download
yeah. So
it?
the
Okay.
the acoustic monitoring BAT project slides and recording are up on the website right now. They're on the TMN Tuesday page. I'll drop that link in the chat. And then that will be the same page that I will put today's recording slides on as well.
Perfect. And we've got about 175 people signed up for that acoustic monitoring project so far. I think 30 out of the 39 chapters or something like that.